One of the things I used to say when I worked at Photopass was if I had cried at least once that day at work, it had been a good day. When you're a Photopass photographer at Walt Disney World, you get to see a lot of incredible moments. Magical moments, things that will just make you tear up and cry. We would see it on a regular basis from behind the camera. People, when they would meet the characters, would have these incredible moments sometimes. And even in the parks, sometimes you would just see things that would just get you so emotionally tearful you couldn't help but cry. Particularly with the characters, I saw a lot of really special, touching moments. They started off with everything from just the kids all the way up to the adults. Kids could be a very interesting thing when you're working with the camera because you're trying to get them to smile for the cameras. Even out on the streets, a lot of times the kids can be very hard to get to look at the camera. They're distracted. There's so much going on. One of the things that would really get you is kids so often still have an innocence about them that adults don't. And I would see kids just do amazing things for people that would blow me away. I can remember one time I was out on Main Street and just working the crowd a little bit before the parade. People were sitting on the sides and just kind of waiting to get their spot. And I'm just kind of taking pictures of the people sitting down, kids eating ice cream, doing things like that. I remember this one time that there was a gentleman sitting there. Without getting into the physical description, it was pretty obvious that he was a little bit different and he was all alone. And just sitting there waiting for the parade, doing his thing, and people weren't really noticing him. And I remember this family sat down next to him and had left a space. And this young little boy was there, and he was probably 3, something like that. And as I'm out in the street taking pictures, I look over and I watch this little boy sitting with his parents, and then he looks over at this gentleman, and then just walks over and gives him a hug. I don't know if there had been any discussion, I don't know if anything had been said, but just out of the blue, he walks over and just hugs this man. And you could just see the reaction in his face, and the shock, and then the gratefulness, and the tears that started to come out from his eyes. It was like, wow, if only we were all so nice and loving all the time. And I still remember that kid blowing me away. And I can remember it because it was one of those few times I didn't have pins and stickers on me and was really kind of mad because I didn't have anything to give this kid to reward him because it was such a cool moment. But we would see so many different neat things with the kids. A lot of times when you were with the characters, kids walk into a room with a character, and especially little ones, they will get scared, and some of them will freak out a bit because, a little kid, he's barely up to waist high, and all of a sudden he's running up to this gigantic mouse or duck, and it can be frightening for a little one. And I watch those characters break down barriers in ways like you wouldn't believe. I can remember 2 moments with Pluto in particular where little boys came into the room and looked up at this giant dog and went, ugh. In both cases, the boys actually had a little ball that they were holding. Probably, 2 to 4 years old. Again, not real old. But they had this ball, and they were holding on to their ball. And in one case, I believe it was me that said something, and the other one was the character attendant. And they said, well, Pluto's a good boy. He's a good dog. He likes to play fetch. We managed to get these boys to toss their ball to Pluto, and Pluto would run after it, get the ball, bring it back, and then roll it back to the kid. And after a few minutes of this back and forth, toss the ball, Pluto bringing it back, toss the ball, bring it back, gradually Pluto got closer and closer, and the kid got over their fear. And next thing you know, they're petting Pluto on the nose and on the head and on the back, and just in love with this dog because he's just a big dog. And getting great photos of this kid. And you're kind of sitting there behind the camera going, how cool is that? That something a few minutes ago was terrifying, that they could work so hard and make such a connection with this child that had been scared. Now they're loving him like it's the favorite thing. I remember a couple times with Mickey and Donald, again, with little boys. For some reason, it was usually the little boys that were scared. I don't know why. Why are we like that? But I remember these little boys coming in with their cars, their little fire trucks, and other things, and sitting down on the floor with Mickey and Donald and playing cars with them, rolling the cars back and forth. And you would watch these kids that would go from scared it's a big, huge animal to them sitting on the floor with the characters sitting on the floor and rolling cars back and forth and making noises and having a good time. Such a neat thing to watch how these characters could break down walls and barriers and bridge it, and these kids fall in love with them. Pooh was just amazing for it, because Pooh is just a big giant teddy bear, and you would watch kids that would be scared of all the other characters, and then they see Winnie the Pooh and they were just like, oh, it's a teddy bear. And you would watch him just grab a hold of this guy and just hold on for dear life and not move. I mean, I can remember a few times that Pooh ended up just sitting there with this kid in his lap practically, just holding him, petting him on the head. You would see it especially with special needs, that Pooh was just one that could really build bridges, and such a neat connection that he would have with them. I loved what the princesses used to do with the little boys. You know, because little boys, they get 5, 6 years old, they don't want anything to do with girls. In fact, some of my favorite pictures from Walt Disney World and Disneyland are of my son when he's meeting girl characters and he's just not real happy. Like this picture of him with Minnie at Disneyland, and then of course you could see him getting the kiss from Minnie at Walt Disney World. Yeah, he's not a happy camper. But the princesses would find ways to work over that and created some hilarious moments. I love the princess room that used to be at Toontown, because you would have 3 princesses in there. They would typically be, say, Cinderella, Belle, and Snow White, or a mixture of other princesses. But what was fun is if they found a little boy that they liked, and, you know, maybe a little shy, but one that was cute, the princesses would like to work them over. A couple times a day, we would see one that they all just fell in love with. They would do the hug, they'd do the pictures, and you'd see this little boy sitting there going, because, you know, they're pretty girls, and so, you know, you can tell that these boys are going, ooh, you know, she's pretty, she's nice. But at the same time, it's a girl. And so it's this mixture of she's cute, but she's a girl, and what do I do? And so these boys would stand there stiff and afraid to give a hug, and yeah, what do I do? They get shy. And girls would basically line him up. And the first one would give him a kiss on the one cheek and leave the lipstick. And then the second one would get the other cheek and leave the lipstick. And so by the time they get to the third princess, they'd have 2 kisses, and the third one would get him on the head, and they'd be walking out of the room going, I got kissed by princess, without having any clue they had the lipstick. So we always made sure we got a picture of that when it happened. Sorry, guys, they didn't do it with teens and up. So if you're thinking, oh, that'd be cool, no. But for the little boys, it was just wonderful. We loved being able to get those pictures. One of my favorite moments actually happened at the Visa Meet and Greet room. The Visa Meet and Greet room is a character meet and greet that only people with the Disney Visa card can go to. So it's a very short wait, and you would get longer visits with the characters. And I can remember I was in there as a photographer one time with Minnie and Goofy. This family came in with a girl who fairly obviously had autism. Wasn't talking, and you could just tell with the mannerisms and everything. And she was probably about 7-ish, 7, 8. And they came in and they were interacting with Minnie and Goofy. And you could see that she was a little hesitant, but also very excited, trying not to get overwhelmed and having an emotional overload. And as she goes through the motions with them, she's having, you can tell what is a very emotional but very neat encounter, a very exciting encounter for her. She likes Goofy some, but Minnie is where she's going. And Minnie, at one point, she grabs a hold of her and just holds on and hugs and hugs and hugs and hugs. And you can see the family is getting kind of emotional, you know, because they're excited she's coming out of the shell a little bit. And we get them all in with pictures, and then she goes right back to Minnie again, and she's holding her hand, and she looks up at Minnie and she goes, I love you. And as she says this, Mom starts breaking down behind me. And I'm kind of looking over going, wait, did I miss something? And Mom walks up to me, puts a hand on my shoulder and says, you don't understand. She doesn't talk. She's never talked. Her first words were to Minnie Mouse saying, I love you. And then you're standing there, and I'm standing there with the camera going, oh my goodness, and the attendant starts crying, and I'm going, I'm hiding my face behind the camera and getting more pictures so they don't see me crying. An incredible moment where you basically see what looks like a miracle. And we would see so many different kinds of reactions. I still remember a working character spot one time with Mickey and taking photos of him with the families coming up, and he's the first character out of 5 at the time. And this family rolls up with their grandma in a wheelchair. And she's probably in her 70s, 80s. They're doing their whole meet and everything, and she starts crying. And Mickey comes over to greet her to say hi. He said hi to everybody else, shakes her hand, and she just really I'm kind of going, what on earth? And then she says, I've been waiting for 50 years to meet you. And then, of course, we're going, oh my goodness. She had never met Mickey, never been to Disney before, and had waited most of her life to get to a Disney park to meet Mickey. And so, of course, Mickey gives her a big hug, and I made sure to get a nice picture of her in the hug. Yeah, Box can't do that. But just a neat moment. And we would see that kind of a reaction from people of all ages. You know, you expect it from the kids, but I would see people in their 30s and 40s and older just get super excited to meet this character that they had dreamed about. You would see adults start freaking out. Oh my goodness! Belle would get that sometimes, especially from girls, because Belle would wear her really pretty gold dress, and the ladies would just, oh my gosh, is it? Even my wife did a little bit, although my wife is very serious and calm and serene, so you would never see it on the outside if you didn't know her. But I still remember the first time we took her to meet Belle, and she's got the pretty dress on. Oh, what, dear, do you actually want a picture just yourself and Belle? Could we do that? That would be really nice. For my wife, this is screaming in excitement. So it was really neat to see that. As a photographer, it was just incredible to see the different kinds of reactions that people would have, the way the characters would build bridges, and how much it would just make you cry because you're seeing such incredible moments. That was probably one of my favorite things about the Photopass job, is watching these things and realizing I got to be a part of it and to capture it. So I'm so grateful for that. Would love to go back and do that. Have you seen a neat moment with the characters at Disney, an emotional moment, something that made you cry, something that just broke your heart in a good way, maybe? I would love to hear it. Share it in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like and share the video as well, and subscribe if you haven't already. I want to also give a huge shout out to my patrons too. They help make videos like this possible, as well as so much more. If you want to know more about Patreon and supporting me, or my fan pages, or merchandise, or the equipment, or anything at all, check the description below. There is a ton of information there. Thank you so very much for watching, and God bless. People in the parks would just have these awe-touching moments that couldn't. And I remember this family. Oh my goodness. If you'd like to know about my merchandise, fan pages, and more, be sure to check the description below. If you'd like to know whenever I've got a new video posted, well, make sure you hit that button right up there and subscribe. If you'd like to watch another one of my videos, I've got a great one for you right here. And if you'd like to be like these wonderful people here and support me financially on Patreon, well, make sure you check the link right there. There's even some extra perks for them. Thank you so much, and God bless.